Caution, the video podcast you're about to see is unedited and may contain opinions and language not suitable for all ages. Viewer discretion is advised. Welcome back to Two Broke Airsofters. This is our third edition in the AEG Green Gas HPA, and it happens to be my favorite, HPA. I'm Drew, a.k.a. Lil Reaper.
And I am Legion, a.k.a. Tyler. And this week we will finish it out. This is number 3, talking about HPA. We already told you how we like the AEG for just all-around play, for right out of the box awesomeness. And we told you how each of us has used green gas and CO2, but we prefer to keep it in the pistol, and that's where it mostly belongs. But today we're going to tell you about everything that makes HPA awesome for us. And here we have the MP5.
First of all, let's talk about the MP5 SD6 HPA jack. This was the first HPA you had actually touched, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so give me your breakdown of what you thought, Mr. I've never touched an HPA. I'm never going to play with air. I'm never going to do it. What'd you think?
I felt like my entire life I had been a 4th grader who thought girls were icky, and then I hit puberty, and I realized how beautiful HPAs were.
Yeah, now a lot of stigma comes with HPA, though. For some reason, when everybody sees you with this frickin' little line, that little hose sticking out the bottom of your gun, automatically they think you're a cheater. You know, it happens. I don't know how many times I go to fields and I hear that crap of, oh, he's got HPA, he's a cheater. What makes it any more of a cheating than if you've got an AEG that's DSG ramped up? Nothing. Did you see the
I think that with HPA, I mean, you have control just like you would with anything else. So if you have a problem with somebody, you think they're cheating, they're shooting you too hard, you know, hey, can you let me take a look at your meter? You know, you already chronoed it. Did you move the meter? No, it's good. What's the problem? I think it comes more from a stigma of the people who were using HPA than than the actual HPA itself, if that makes sense.
Once again, it's the idiot behind the frickin' trigger, not the frickin' trigger itself. Now.
Sorry, been drinking too much again.
Hey, at least I'm a little bit sober this time. So, like I said, this is my realm we're in. And yeah, I'm going to steal the glory here because, like I said, look at HPA. You've got the HPA drop-ins. Now, most of y'all know about Polar Star. Now, Polar Star is where it started at. You know, they had the big freaking drop-in version 1. It was a whole solid kit. Didn't have much. Now they've got these jacks, the EGMs that came out. As you can see right here, my little EMG. Love it to death. They're drop-in kits. And like we had talked about with the AEGs, you have your gearbox here. Now what you're going to do is you're going to rip all your guts out of that and drop in this little HPA system. Now once you drop in that HPA system, you stick a little micro battery in the back with the FCU. You got a little air line coming out, little air hose, little tank, which a lot of people say, well, that's not milsim. But, you know, I know a lot of guys who really just don't give 2 farts because it's HPA. Better consistency. I can adjust it. I can make my, FPS anywhere from 200 up to 400, wherever the limit is. Stick a turning lock on it, I'm ready to go. I'm going to get a better consistency out of it. Yeah, I've got to have air, but you know what? I can make one of these bottles right here last a 2-day event at any milsim game that I know of. Am I worried about it? No, because I can stick my AEG mags into it. I can go, and I've got that consistency, that same punch every time, and I'm ready to rock and roll. You, like I said, got to use it at, the MP5. Compared to using AEG, what do you think about it?
So, as somebody that doesn't generally have all the technical experience to mess with all the little different things that you can change, I kind of needed you to set it up for me, right? So like you set up this weapon for me at the right FPS, with the right trigger sensitivity, with the right rounds per second. You made it happen, and then you gave it to me, and it was perfect. It had way more consistency. I found that the BBs tended to go in a much tighter grouping than with an AEG. Part of that is barrel, but part of that is just the exact same amount of air every single time. And just overall, I found that with the ability to adjust things, you knew that the FPS, couldn't be more than, 380 maybe that day. So you set it at 379 and then set everything else up around that. So you were right at the limit of where you could be, and it was perfection.
Yeah.
And that is not something that you can really do with an AEG.
Now, like you said, I set it at 380. Now, I am going to bring up one point, because this is what I see a lot of, is you can see here's my little reg turn knob, and I've got a freaking turning lock on it. A lot of the douchebags out there, now yeah, I'm going to call you a freaking douchebag, you don't put a turning lock on there. You don't lock it up. So what you see is a lot of people out on the field changing that valve around a little bit, creeping up their FPS and, all that. You're a douchebag. You don't need to be playing airsoft. Get the hell off my field. I'm
gonna have to disagree. I wouldn't call those guys douchebags. I would call them douche canoes.
Okay, douche canoes. I mean, whatever you want to call it, but it's an idiot move. Once again, it's the idiot behind the trigger. Once you set this bottle and that regulator where you need to go, fields need to be putting turning locks on this. I know they do it at some of the at all the AMS games, I should say. Once you chrono, they lock that bottle down. You cut that tab off and you cut that little sticker off, they're going to tell you to get off the field. They're serious about this crap, because, like I said, I can turn that valve and go from 60 psi up to 100 psi like that. What's that going to do to? I mean, it's a douche move, I think myself. But that's just me. Enough on that topic.
Well, that's how injuries happen. So it is with great power comes great responsibility type situation. So it is this beautiful, amazing system. I'm sure with, maybe a week or two at home, you could teach yourself how to run it. I just haven't taken the time to really do that. It's not super complicated stuff. A lot of HPA systems have the optional computer, which is amazing. You just type in what you want. It's not as simple as a keyboard, but it is a touch system. And you just push the button until you get to what you want, and you're good to go. It's not that complicated. And my favorite part of this whole process is I can take my AEG that I already have, that I've already sunk X amount of dollars into. So I made all the outside look cool and sexy, and I just drop that HPA system right in. You don't need a motor anymore, so the line comes out the handle.
Yeah.
You don't need the gearbox. It takes a little space in there. And the place where... Correct. And the place where your battery would normally go is a perfect spot to put that new little micro battery, or it might fit someplace else.
Yeah, you got that micro battery, and like you said, the FCU computer. It all fits right inside that little back compartment where your battery used to go. Like you were saying, the FCU, a lot of people start just tinkering and dinkering and fooling with it nonstop. I see a lot of the speedballers doing it, where every game they're pushing that freaking little FCU. They're doing something different. They're resetting their dwell. Dude, when you get that thing set right, why the hell are you going to touch it again? I mean, the consistency you can get out of setting your dwell at a certain number, you set your backstop at a certain number, you set it to an open bolt for your DMR guys. Once you get it set, why the hell are you screwing with it? I mean, why would you take a Porsche and put a big freaking fin on the front end of it? That's the exact same concept. This is literally the Porsche of airsoft. I mean, it is the end-all of end-all, and it is actually getting better, because now they've got, the red line stocks where now you don't have a line and a tank coming out. They've got the Wraith system coming out, which goes into the stock and takes a CO2 cartridge into it. But it's still the HPA system with a CO2 cartridge that you can get 800 shots out of, giving you more of a milsim look. Why screw with it? It's a great system, But like you were saying, with great power and great money or whatever the hell you want to call that comes great responsibility. That still has to be interrupted.
Let's talk about the money really quick. So upside, downside.
Okay,
so like I said, I like it because you can take your.
Before we talk about money. Okay, she's not in here. Now we can talk about money.
So, for those of us who get the disability check, so the thing I really like about this system is that you can have an AEG. You come into Airsoft, you've never done it before. You start out, $100 you buy your Walmart M4, or $150, $200 you buy your Echo One or whatever, and it works for you and it's great. You do it for a while and you say, I love Airsoft, I'm going to do this a lot longer, I'm willing to start dropping money into it. You then can take, I don't want to quote a price on what HPA costs because it's always changing and there's different things that go into it, but for about the same price that you paid for a really good AEG, you can now turn that AEG into an HPA.
I'll catch you there because, like you were just saying, price-wise, okay, so I'm going to stop you there. I know it's rude, but guess what? Crytac, KWA, all your higher-end guns that you're paying $300, $400, $500 for, right? You're getting up in that price range. You can HPA for that. You're talking $350, $100 for the bottle and regulator, maybe $60 for the line. You're dropping it into an AEG for the same price you're buying a high-end AEG.
And don't ever forget, 90% of what you get when you take a gun out of the box is aesthetics. I mean, the outside stuff is just there to look good. So when you talk about ripping out the internals, you can buy a crappy plastic Walmart gun and put an HPA system in it. So you can spend $100 you can like $60 to get an M4 frame with some crappy internals. You rip those puppies out and you got yourself an HPA for, I don't know, I think we did the math and it might have been $500 or $600 start to finish, in that range.
My ran me about $525. And that was with the system, the bottle, the line, and the regulator.
Now, one thing that you have and that I have that might not be normal is a scuba tank that we use to fill the smaller HPA tank. So that's an additional cost if you kind of want to go that way. But otherwise, how do you get your bottles filled if you don't have something you keep at home?
Your local fields have them. A lot of your big promoters, when they put on these events, like when we went to Ironclad, AMS has bottles out. They have a fill station out there. You can buy a fill ticket. Going to a Third Coast Airsoft event, Series Viking, give you all a shout out right now. Thanks, Sal. They're going to have a fill station out there. I think it's $20 for the whole weekend. So you're saying $20 for fill for air. Oh, God, that's expensive. Well, it's not, because they're taking the equipment out there. I'm not having to buy that equipment, because when you start talking generators, lines, tanks, and all that, you're talking a good expense. Me, personally, I found a cheap tank at a scuba shop that was at discount. I put the little $25 valve on top of it. We're good to go. It saves me, though, having to carry that frickin' 60-pound tank up there if I just buy that $20 ticket for the weekend.
Right. Yeah, and that's for the same amount that I could fill up my tank that I already have. I could not bring the tank, and they fill it up for me. So it's a pretty good deal.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is now, and I don't know if you've seen it, I've seen it a lot. A lot of people are going HPA now. But back to that whole stigma with it, man. It's the idiot behind the freaking gun that's going to make the gun or make the system bad. We actually did a theory test on this one day, and I know it sounds crappy to do, but we took an AEG and we glued a line to the freaking handle. Went out there and ripped it. And you know how many people said we were crappy people just because we had a hose hanging out of our gun?
Yeah, I totally know what you mean. I've had an AEG shooting at 250 FPS with 2.5s, I think, not a lot of joules compared to what you can have. And I had a lot of people saying, "Oh man, are you running 400?" So I mean, it's a lot of it comes down to gameplay. If somebody's losing and they're getting hit and they're not used to getting hit, they might interpret the hit as harder than it really is. So, I mean, you got to use your critical thinking skills. You got to be a good sport about this kind of stuff. And if it's leaving marks, yeah, maybe you should say something. But if you're getting hit and it hurts, but it's not leaving any marks, maybe it's within range.
Yeah, well, the one thing I think that we get a lot of is where you get the HPA guys, because you got the FC unit there and you can change stuff. I can change my rounds per second. I can change my FPS. I can change everything right there on the fly. And we do get a lot of, like you said, the douche canoes, the idiot mongrels, I don't care what you call them, that do that. Is that taken away from our sport? Is that taken away from that weapon system? Is that giving a bad stigma to it?
Yeah, totally. So I'm sure there's people watching right now who played played paintball, and they're like, "What are these guys talking about? They're idiots." Obviously, we all know this. You saw the same thing in paintball. You had people that were able to control their systems, and they would crank that sucker to the max and cause problems. I mean, it's just a thing that people will always do everywhere. And the human condition is you remember the one guy that was a dick before you remember the 99 people that were good. And I guess it's the way it is. You go home and you tell your friends, half my conversation to them is, yeah, everything was great. I really loved that op. And then the other half is, but let me tell you about this dick that was messing around with his HPA's FPS and hurting people.
Yeah, so take your booger pickers freaking off the triggers and stop being idiots and giving this. It's a great system. Stop giving it a bad name. It's not the system that makes it bad. It's the people behind the friggin' trigger. Ever since I've found HPA, I've fallen in love with it. I still love my AEGs. Don't get me wrong. I take an AEG and an HPA everywhere I go. And whatever the game style and play is determines what I use. But in all that honesty, I can't say enough good about HPA. I mean, it's if you can afford it, and I will say it is a little more expensive, but if you can afford it, it's a great freaking system. I mean, there's not much to maintain. It's easy to use. It's easy to operate. 99.9% of the players know how to do it now. Why not?
So, have you found any downsides? You've been using it for a while.
About the only downside I can technically say I have is air. I mean, if you know, but I don't have that downside. I've done one full auto game with it, and yeah, it eats up a lot of air. But I do mostly semi. I can't say I've found a downside to it. I really have not. The only downside is I can't put it in enough freaking guns. I mean, you know, I've got, 4 or 5 HPAs now. I can't carry them all with me, but I want to. I enjoy the system. I enjoy the simplicity. I enjoy, you know, building it. And it's fun. It's what AEGs used to be to me. AEGs is more that technical side. HPA is more that, hey, now I've got it easy side. So
I think, you know, in the future, I'd like to see wherever Airsoft's going to go next. I don't think I can come up with anything cool in my head. We're never going to be able to have, like, Gauss airsoft weapons, because then you'd have to have metal BBs, and that's a non-starter. But it's really interesting to see us go from AEGs to CO2 and green gas to HPA now. I know we've stolen from paintball a little bit. It'll be nice to see new ideas come in, and I'm sure we're going to come up with some ridiculously awesome system next. And I'm just excited to see whatever that's going to be.
It's the evolution, like we keep on saying. It's the continual evolution of Airsoft itself. And that's pretty much bringing us to the end of time. I mean, out of the 3, what's your favorite right now? Or do you have a favorite?
I know I talk about HPA like it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Right now, I really am trying to learn AEGs. I've been using them for 6 years, and I still don't know enough about them, and I just want to keep learning that. before I move on to the next big thing. But if you let me use your HPAs, I will continue to do that until the end of time.
Well, everybody knows me that I run everything there is. I mean, it doesn't matter. My favorite, if I had to pick one offhand right now, would have to be my Elite Force that I have my jack in, because I've actually got 4 uppers for it, and I have the AEG and the HPA lower, so I can put those 4 uppers on those 2 lowers, and I've got 8 of the best guns out there that run any way it goes. So, this is the end of the 3-part series, T. It's been a long one. Many beers have gone into it.
With that, I encourage people to comment below and let us know what your favorite gun is. Let us know what you would really love to see in an airsoft gun. If you have some crazy project, like I mentioned, turn an RC battery into a giant Gatling gun or something like that.
And 2 more things. Don't forget Tacticool Imaging for our great little front banner.
I always forget. Thanks to Tacticool Imaging. They hook us up. Thanks to Sexy D for making this whole thing happen. Thanks to Rage Custom Airsoft for hooking us up last week with a little how you do. And with that, I am Legion, a.k.a. Tyler.
I am Drew, a.k.a. Lil Reaper. We are 2 broke Airsofters, and we are
out.